Welcome back. Time to take a look at the ratings for week 17, starting with free-to-air. As you can see, My Kitchen Rules taking out the top spot, and at number 5, My Kitchen Rules as well. Over the page, at number 6, The Block Room Reveal, and at number 10, 60 Minutes. Now to the subscription TV ratings for week 17, starting with the most watched sports programs. As you can see in the number 1 spot, NRL Sharks v Rabbitohs, and over the page, in the number 1 spot, Game of Thrones, and at number 5, The Real Housewives of Melbourne. Returning to our co-host James Manning, who joins us from 10 Network headquarters. And James, first of all, can we get your thoughts on the 10 interview? What did you make of the result?
Look, it wasn't a great result. Hamish, we've been talking to him on and off for a couple of years now, and you can see they're mapping out a road back, if you like. There have been some good ratings increases. There's been a few stumbles. We talked about the sort of audience lag between the momentum they had from I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here and the start of MasterChef next week. They really need to address that in future, but I think they were scared of going up against Seven's My Kitchen Rules. But you can see a road back. They've just got to be a bit more patient, I guess.
And James, this all comes amid some big sponsorship announcements this week for 10's MasterChef program and also its rival 9's Renault Rumble.
Yeah, it was good news. In a week we've been talking a lot about, the worthiness of the free-to-air TV model and the amount of investment that advertisers make in it. MasterChef's attracted Coles and Alfa Romeo back. Of course, Coles fills their pantry in the MasterChef kitchen. The contestants drive the Alfa Romeo cars. On Renault Rumble for 9, they've signed up Mazda and a whole lot of sponsors on a next level down underneath them.
James Manning, editor and publisher of Mediaweek. Appreciate your analysis. Meanwhile, the Asia-Pacific Video Operators Summit has become one of the most must-attend media events in the region. It attracts key executives from throughout Asia and around the world to showcase their brands and discuss the challenges and opportunities facing the sector. But the real work is done on the sidelines of the conference, high-level meetings to buy and sell programming and channels. This year, the focus is on digital delivery, with nearly all players either operating or launching an over-the-top service. At APOS this year is Discovery, the world's #1 pay TV programmer, with a suite of Discovery brands plus Animal Planet and TLC. The channels reach 2.8 billion subscribers in 220 markets through Discovery International, a business which of late is starting to outperform the core US operation. Leading the charge is JB Perrott, the group's former head of digital, who's raced up the ranks in the short time he's been with the company. He spoke with Jim Middleton, who asked why the group is outperforming its peers in a tough environment.
I think a couple things. We've been at it for a long time. So we were very early into this space. We're celebrating our 30th anniversary as a company this year. We celebrated our 25th anniversary internationally last year. And so very early on, the company decided that not only did we want to be a great U.S. media company, but we wanted to be a great global company. And so we planted the flag very early. We built strong brands and great distribution. And through a lot of investment in content, and primarily, we were able to actually build a business where now we have an average of 10 channels in 220 markets around the world. And we've always tried to stay innovative in terms of the model. We obviously are largely a pay TV programmer, but we've been very opportunistic and tried to stay forward-leaning as new technologies and new opportunities came about. And so in Europe, despite the fact that we have seen an economic environment in Europe over the last sort of 5 years have been tough in many markets, we figured out a way to launch some free-to-air networks in addition to our pay networks, and figured out a way to program both of those networks and yet see both our pay channels and our free-to-air networks both rise. And so while the market's been overall flat to down on a macro environment, we've actually seen double-digit growth coming out of Europe. Latin America has been a great growth market for us, and Asia continues to be not only a great growth market for us, but I think as we look to the future, a market that we want to do ever more in. So I think being early and being innovative in terms of the way we brought our product to market and investing in great content really are the sort of cornerstones to that success.
I think I'm right when I say that you come from something of a digital background. Digital disruption has been the topic of recent months. How much of a challenge do you think the digital environment is going to be to what has been a success story over the past 30 years?
I think it's a new challenge, and certainly, as you say, there's an enormous amount of change happening, and this pace of change more than anything else is happening. But you have to realize that we're in a business that actually has operated in versions of change for many, many years. We used to operate in an environment where there were 50 channels, and then there were 100, and then there were 250, and then there were free-to-air networks, and so there is a new wave. Obviously, consumers are now, and viewers are really in control. And so we look at it as an evolution, but we also don't look at it as a zero-sum game. I think there's a lot of desires to sort of write the death of television or of pay TV. We don't believe that at all. We actually see continued very strong growth in many markets in pay TV. In some markets, there is starting to be a plateauing, or in some cases, a slight falling off. But we're a content company. We're not a platform company. We're not a TV company, as people like to define it, as in terms of the TV screen. We're a content company. And so when we see a world where we used to only be able to address 1 billion televisions that existed in the world, and now every rectangle that gets produced is all about video and great content and great stories, and people consuming more great content and great stories than ever in the history of video, for us, the opportunity is how do we get our content out there on all those platforms? And instead of just 1 billion TVs, we're now talking about 10 billion devices globally.
And that's all we have time for on this episode of Media Week. From the team here, thanks for your company.